Okay, let's dig into this. There's a lot of information here, okay? But what we need to do is we need to go through and pick out the piece that we need for our task at hand. So let's just do that, okay? And I'll go through and we'll work the problem and I'll point out where I'm getting these things from as we go through. Okay, so the first thing it asks us is to fill in this piece of the chart. And it says, what amount of dividends is paid annually to preferred shareholders owning 300 shares? So everything we do when we go back to this information, remember this is for all shares. We only have 300. So we're going to have to constantly take our piece of that. So the par value of preferred shares, right there, 4,200,000. 4,200,000. The next thing it asks us is what is the dividend rate, and that's given to us, 6.825. So let me highlight these things as I grab them, okay? Par value. And then the dividend rate, 6.825. So, then says what is our total annual dividend? So our total annual dividend is going to be the paid in amount times the dividend rate, okay? So let's take a look at that. So we have the par value of our preferred shares is 4,200,000, 4,200,000, and we have to multiply that by 0.06825. So our total dividend will be $286,650. The total par value, the total paid in par value, capital, times the dividend rate. And that gives us the dividend of $286,650. Let's put that in there. $286,650. Now, remember that $286,650 is for everybody. And there's 210,000 shares out. So we have to figure out the dividend per share. So let's take that dividend and divide by 210,000. And our dividend per share is $1.36. And that number of shares preferred, again, we took that right from there. Now remember, we have 300 shares. So we need to figure out how much our dividend is for our 300 shares. So we multiplied that by 300 and we come up with $409.50. So when you're doing something like this, you have to sort of go through and pick out the pieces that you need, okay? Now the second part says that this company did not pay a dividend in the 2 prior years, but they did in this year. And we're told that if these shares have the cumulative right, okay, And I believe they're told that we do have the cumulative right, okay? Preferred stocks, right here it tells us cumulative dividends for the preferred stock are payable in arrears. In other words, yes, this company does have preferred cumulative stock. So, every year they pay a dividend of $409.50 to this person. Okay? So, if that's what they pay each year to this person, it's $409.50 for year one, $409.50 for year two, $409.50 for year three, $1227, $1228.50. Is that what it works out to? I believe it does. So that's the amount of dividends our shareholder of 300 shares would get. Next it says, if the investor chooses to convert the shares, how many shares of common stock will the investor receive? How many shares of common stock will the investor receive? Well, let's go through. They tell us that the investor will receive, and we have to go through and grab these numbers. They give them to us. The conversion price per share, right here. Okay. And they tell us that the preferred stock is convertible at any time into a number of shares of Ozark's common stock equal to the number of preferred shares being converted times a fraction equal to $20 divided by the conversion price. And that, while that's sort of an awkward, ugly way to say it, it's not all that uncommon. So we'll just do it. You know, it's ugly, but what the hell, we'll just do it. It's not impossible. So, let's see. We have the $20. We're told that. And we have to take that $20, we have to divide it by 25.62, the conversion price per share and the liquidation preference. Okay? And then we come up with that and we have to multiply it by 300. So we have the 300 shares. And the conversion factor is 20 divided by 25.62. That's 0.78064, 0.78060, blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to leave that as it is, and then I'm going to multiply that by the 300 shares we have. And we come up with 234.19 shares. Well, they can't issue 19 100s, or roughly 20% of a share. So they would issue 234 shares, and that 19% of a share, that fractional share, that's what it's called, would be paid out in cash. Okay, now let's take a look at this piece of it. This says, if Ozark chooses to redeem the shares, what amount will the investor be paid for his or her 300 shares? Remember, this is 2014. So let's go take a look and see what pieces we need here. Okay, the redeemable period begins 2018 or 2012, So this is 2014, so we need that piece. Let me get a different color so you can see it. We need that piece. And then it says preferred stock is redeemable by the company beginning on various dates as listed above. Redemption price is equal to 115% of the liquidation preference. Liquidation preference is just basically the liquidation cost per share. And the redemption price, and I need you to see that piece because that's important. The redemption price decreases 2% annually thereafter until the redemption price equals the liquidation price of 20 bucks. Okay, so this is 2 years after. So we're going to reduce the liquidation preference by 2% per year. So the liquidation preference is $20. Remember where we got that piece, $20, okay? And we're told that the percentage, the redemption price, is 115%. So 115% or 1.15, they mean the same thing. So let's pop it in and take a look here. $20 times 1.15 equals $23. So the redemption price is $23. But remember, it reduces by 2% per year. Remember that piece? Decreases 2% per year. So this is 2 years after the earliest possible date. So we have to reduce that by 4%. Well, I'm going to do that the easy way because I'm lazy. Just going to take 96% of it. So that's $22.08. And we're going to multiply that by 300 because that's how many shares we have. $6,624. Now there was a lot to that problem. There were a lot of pieces to that problem. What you need to do with a problem like that is just look at each piece as you're doing it and find the pieces you need. Because reading all of that information is pretty daunting. But go look for each piece as you need it. Sort of like just-in-time inventory for knowledge, and you'll be good to go.